They told you to look on the bright side, to stay positive, to smile through the pain. But no one told you what to do with the rage. No one told you what to do with the grief, the guilt, the loneliness. No one told you what to do with the shadow, because most people never face it. They flee from it. They bury it. They pretend it doesn't exist. But what is ignored within will find its way out through your habits, your relationships, your breakdowns, and your dreams. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." So today, this is not about inspiration. This is not about hype. This is a confrontation. It's time to meet the part of you that you've disowned. It's time to turn around and walk into the dark cave you've avoided your whole life. Because what you think is your enemy is your key. And if you don't face the shadow, it will consume you from the inside out. The shadow is not evil, it's not a demon, it's not sin, it's not failure. It is you, the you that got exiled, the you that didn't fit the image, the anger you weren't allowed to feel, the hunger they told you to suppress, the brilliance that threatened to outshine others, so you made yourself small. Every part of you you had to hide to be loved. That's the shadow. It doesn't vanish because you ignore it. It festers, it waits, it erupts when you least expect it. Not to destroy you, but to be acknowledged, to be integrated. You see, we all wear masks. We all play roles. But what happens when the mask becomes your face? When you've been wearing it so long, you forget who you are underneath? That's when the soul starts to rebel. That's when anxiety whispers, depression drags, rage boils. Not because you're broken, but because your real self is starving. Individuation is the process of becoming whole, and that doesn't mean becoming perfect. It means becoming honest. It means dragging the unseen parts of you into the light and saying, "You are part of me, and I will no longer run." Modern life is a numbing machine. It sells you noise, distraction, endless scrolling, instant dopamine. But what it steals is the silence where your soul speaks, the silence where the dream symbols live, where the truth shows up raw and unwanted. You can drown it in alcohol, in overwork, in ambition, in a curated identity of success. But at night, it returns, in your dreams, in the anxiety, in the self-sabotage you can't explain. That is not weakness. That is a call. Your psyche isn't broken, it's split. And healing doesn't mean suppressing the shadow. It means letting it teach you, letting it show you what you've abandoned, letting it lead you to your power. Because the shadow is not just darkness, it's potential. It holds the primal fire, the raw will, the truth you've been avoiding. And only by confronting it can you ever become whole. Think about this. Every great myth involves a descent into the underworld, into the abyss. Dante had his inferno. Christ had the tomb. Odysseus had the underworld. Buddha had the wilderness. Even Jung said, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." So why should you be any different? You will not ascend until you descend. Not because life is cruel, but because your gold is buried beneath the dirt. Your wisdom is on the other side of your wounds. Your authenticity is trapped behind the very emotions you're terrified to feel. This is the path of the warrior soul, not to dominate others, but to master the self, not to appear strong, but to actually become whole. And wholeness only comes when you stop running and begin the integration. Your shadow is not here to shame you, it is here to awaken you. It is the repressed artist, the forgotten child, the roaring protector. It is every part of you that was once powerful before you were told to shrink. The world will say, "Stay positive." Jung says, "Let's look deeper." The world says, "Be good." Jung says, "Be whole." The world says, "Ignore your dreams." Jung says, "Decode them. They're messages from your soul." And in this age of noise and false light, the greatest act of rebellion is to listen inward. It begins with a choice to be real over perfect, to feel rather than flee, to sit in the discomfort, until it teaches you something new. Because here's the paradox: the shadow isn't what destroys you, denying it is. The ego is not evil, mistaking it for your whole self is. True power is found not in the persona, but in the union of all your parts. And that is the journey of individuation. You must descend not to stay there, but to reclaim your lost fire. You must integrate, not to become more lovable, but to become more you. Not the image, not the mask, but the living soul beneath it all. This is not a motivational message. This is a spiritual initiation. And the call is not to feel better. The call is to become whole, to face the shadow before it devours the life you were born to live. You're not broken. You're not lost. You're not late. You are on the threshold of something deeper. And the only way out is through. Let the descent begin. Not as punishment, but as passage. Not because you failed, but because you're ready. Ready to feel again. Ready to remember. Ready to stop bargaining with your soul. This is the moment when the masks crack, when the image no longer satisfies, when the applause feels empty. And in that emptiness, a voice rises, a whisper that has waited lifetimes. I am still here. It's the self you buried, the child you silenced, the rebel you medicated, the mystic you laughed at. But it never died. It waited. And now, it is your time to return. This is not the hero's journey you've seen in movies. It's the real one. It doesn't start with courage. It starts with collapse. It doesn't begin with confidence. It begins with surrender. You will lose what you thought was you, but what remains will be truth. There is a deeper intelligence inside you, a deeper rhythm, a cosmic memory. You don't need to manufacture purpose. You need to remember it. And the only way to remember is to descend. Not alone, but awakened. Not destroyed, but transformed. Let the shadow speak. Let the dream guide you. Let the pain open you. Because the only way to become your full self is to walk straight into everything you've avoided. And when you emerge, scarred, cracked and blazing, you won't just be healed. You will be whole. You will not be praised for this journey. There will be no medals for facing your fear, no instant clarity, no overnight transformation, because this path is not for the applause of the world. It is for the awakening of the soul. You will walk alone at first, because most don't want to know the truth. Most choose comfort over consciousness. They will say you're too intense, too emotional, too sensitive, too much. But that is only because your presence reminds them of everything they've buried. You are not too much. You are remembering what it means to feel, to live with both fire and grace, to walk through life not as a role, but as a presence. This is the inner revolution, not against systems, but against the silence inside. The silence that came from years of pretending, years of performing, years of exile from your own truth. But now, the gate is open. And once you've looked into the shadow, truly looked, you can never unsee. And that is liberation. Because now no fear controls you. No shame manipulates you. No unspoken past dictates your future. The world might not change overnight, but your perception will. And when your perception changes, your destiny shifts. Jung called it the transcendent function. The moment when opposites unite, when light and shadow integrate, when the soul stops splitting itself just to be accepted. This is not philosophy, this is alchemy, the transformation of suffering into wisdom, of fragmentation into unity, of survival into sovereignty. The question is not, who do I need to become? The question is, what parts of me do I need to reclaim? You don't need more goals. You need more truth. You don't need a new version of yourself. You need the courage to be the self that was buried. And once you stop running from the shadow, you become unshakable. Because what can the world take from someone who has faced their deepest fears and still stood tall? What can life do to someone who has made peace with their own chaos? You stop performing. You start radiating. You stop grasping, you start remembering, and in that remembering is the return to soul, the return to essence, the return to the inner voice that was never gone, only silenced. So no, this is not about quick fixes. This is not about manifesting a better life without first facing the inner war. This is about walking into the fire, not to be burned, but to be forged. Because you are not here to survive this life. You are here to burn with it, to create with it, to wake others with it, to love with it, ferociously, vulnerably, and fully. And that love must begin with the self, not the curated self, not the approved self, the real self, messy, vast, brilliant, wounded, divine. Face the shadow, not to be perfect, but to be true. Because only the true self can carry the weight of your purpose. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to integrate and rise. Let the journey continue.